All right, welcome back to another session for Self-Care for Healers Masterclass series. It is my privilege to introduce Charles B. Crenshaw, Jr. He is a Vietnam-era veteran and holds a master's degree in Eastern Studies and Comparative Psychology. He's certified in Emotional Freedom Techniques, also known as EFT, through the EFT universe. He's the co-author of EFT for Meditation, a contributing author to the Clinical EFT Handbook, and the author of Pathless Path, God, Grace, Guru, an African-American Life Transformed Through Yoga and Meditation. He's the co-founder for Tools for Joyful Living, which is an organization that helps clients use EFT, hypnosis, and NLP. He's currently teaching faculty at the Association of Himalayan Yoga Meditation Societies International. He's an ordained interfaith minister, certified master practitioner and trainer of NLP practitioners, a certified trainer of hypnotists, as well as an award-winning member of the National Guild of Hypnotists, and former faculty at the University of Phoenix from 2005 to 2019. Charles, welcome, and thank you so much for being part of this expert panel. I am really psyched to have you on board here because I love EFT, and I've sort of heard about NLP. I know what it is. I don't. I've had a meeting with Jim 14 on a video, and I do recognize the work. I don't really understand it too well. So if you could please let me know and the audience know what drew you to EFT, hypnosis, and NLP.
Well, the basis for all of my experiments, I would say, with EFT, NLP, hypnosis, all come from having practiced meditation. I've been practicing meditation since I was discharged from the service, and the graduate work I did was work in holistic health. It's now called integrated medicine, but it's holistic health. And in those courses, in the coursework, aside from learning about the science associated with meditation and things of this nature, one of the professors introduced us, the class, to NLP. And so NLP got in the mix that way. And the EFT didn't come along until much later. The times when I was in graduate school was about the time that EFT was just starting to be developed. And actually, it's about the same time that NLP was being developed also. But the EFT didn't come along. I didn't come in contact with it until the 2000s. And what got me really to it was I'm thinking, all right, well, this is something that I'm familiar with when they talk about acupuncture, because I had taken a survey course right after I got out of service, because again, this meditation informed everything. So right after I got out of the service, I took a survey course with an old Hapkido master, a Korean guy. And he, pinned us up and things like this. And so I knew about the benefits of acupuncture. And they said this EFT stuff was associated with acupuncture. I've had that very same old Hapkido master's son became a physician and was trained in Chinese medicine by his father. And I ended up one of his patients. And all around the same time when I met that young physician, I was learning about this tapping, and really what, hooking meditation and EFT up, the thing that really made the case was that in graduate school, I was inclined toward learning counseling, maybe getting a PhD in psychology and things of this nature. And we had to be in therapy. We had to go to regular weekly sessions with a licensed clinician. And this one thing kept coming up from my childhood when I was about 8 or 9 years old. It was the classic, in hindsight, it was the classic misunderstanding between an adult and a child. And the child, in their innocence, has done something. The adult doesn't understand. The adult takes it the wrong way, and that wreaks havoc for the child. And so I was struggling with this, and it kept coming up, in meditation practice. It kept coming up. And so long story short, I tap on this thing because I'm going, well, let's see if this can clear it up. I tapped on that event. I cried like an 8 or 9 year old kid who had lost his mother, because that's what the interaction was with my mother. I cried, I slobbered, I cried, I laid on the floor in fetal position. Nobody was home. I mean, there are not a lot of people here. My wife is just she and I. And I cried and I cried and I cried. And all the while I'm, observing this phenomenon, and I kept going like, and I cried. The key element here for me is that my meditation practice changed. My meditation practice went, figuratively from here to here. And I'm going, okay, there's something to this. Actually, this was the impetus for writing the book, EFT for Meditation. And I sought out training with one of the best on the planet in this area, and told him when I met him, I'm interested in what this produced for my spiritual practice. You teach me what you know. I'm interested in the fact that this did something profound. So, that's how I really got to EFT. I had been NLP and hypnosis before then, and these things kind of all coalesced in one way for me.
So it sounds like EFT, hypnosis and NLP are known for being very powerful, but it sounds like the EFT is kind of like what piqued your interest. But do you think it sounds like it was very quick and very powerful as a technique? Is that what you take from it?
Yeah. The thing is that I've seen, I mean, there have been clients who, horrible things have happened to them, women who've been abused by male parents and things like this. And I just remember one client who said, I didn't think I'd ever get over that. I didn't think it was possible. And it wasn't, it wasn't talk therapy. It was just the tapping. And I'm going, well, she's thanking me. I'm going, you're not thanking me. It's, this works. And see, now the fascinating thing is that EFT is based in Chinese medicine. Chinese medicine connects organs and emotions and meridians. And just as a case in point about the connections between our emotions and physical pain and things of this nature, I had a sibling who passed, and during that time, very close, my younger sister, my baby sister, if you will. I'm 69, she's 60. I'm going, no, you're not supposed to die before me. I'm supposed to die before you. In any case, I made a statement at that time that to some friends, my heart is broken. I don't know how to fix this yet. Those are my words. And I went to the acupuncturist I mentioned earlier, the physician, and this baby finger, it felt like it was cut down the middle and open, and laying open and bleeding. And I even asked my wife, do you see a cut here or anything? She said, no. And I go to the the acupuncturist, he says, that's the heart meridian, Charles.
Wow.
I'm going, oh, okay, enough said. you know, the the grief was manifesting in my body as a pain, and so it kind of shows you the connection between these things. And the 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 other fascinating thing is that in uh, science associated with yoga, and probably many people have heard of it by now, is Ayurveda. It talks about marma points. Marma points in Ayurveda and some major points in the acupuncture system of Chinese medicine are the same. Actually, the scholars are out on whether or not Chinese acupuncture or Ayurveda,
Hmm.
they both use acupuncture and they both use meridians. Which one came first? We won't quibble about that. But the thing is that these points are things that the masters of yoga and those who are masters in the science of Ayurveda, they call them points that are gateways to the subtle body. And so the thing about, for me, about tapping that is significant is that tapping is working on the subtle body. And if these trauma points and certain exercises in yoga science, they're used to help you to disengage the subtle body, to understand the subtle body so that you can do extraordinary things like leave your body consciously when you die and things of that nature. But that's neither here nor there. But the one significant thing here is something we can do here as a little exercise for folks, because oftentimes for most of us, it's difficult. Somebody says, "Oh, this is this, and this is new, and this works," and they don't have any experiential base for it. So then they kind of go, "Well, and so that's the one thing about yoga science, meditation, things of this nature that is significant is, you can do experiments in your very own laboratory, your own personal laboratory you carry around with you all the time, and you can see what the effects are. Okay, so let's do this little exercise, and then so people can get an idea, especially for those who have never done this, who don't know anything about it. So it's a simple thing. There are some things I want you to consider right from the beginning. Okay, I want you to consider how you feel in your body right now. Okay, and particularly note if there's a place of discomfort or tightness, and just note that. Okay, for those who have some awareness, I'd say in addition to or instead of, because you can choose any one of these approaches you like, to pay attention to your breathing. Note how your breathing is right now. And for some in the audience, they're going to get what I'm saying. Note your nostril dominance. I'm not going to explain that, but for those in the know, note which nostril seems to be flowing the most. Note how you're breathing. Okay, so that's two things: noting your physical body, noting your breath, and then one last possibility: pick a minor irritant, just something small, nothing big, something small. The dog ran in front of me yesterday, and I tripped and broke my vase. Something small that you're irritated about. Okay, and I want you to consider, if you're choosing this particular option, where that is, and if you think of the screen here, where that is in the screen of your mind. Is it up in the corner? Is it down here? And is it close or far away? Just kind of consider what the memory is in the screen of your mind. Is it moving, or is it a still shot? Still shot. You're there, the vase is crashed on the floor. So you have three options. Now, choose one of those, decide, we're just quantum physics here. You have all the possibilities, choose one, okay? And then we're going to tap. You're just gonna follow along with me. I'm gonna show you the points, very easy. You're noticing how you feel on one of those choices right now, and then we'll see what happens post, okay? So take a hand, doesn't matter which hand, fingers tap on the side of the hand. Okay, then the very top of your head, the very, very top. The end of the hair of the eyebrow. You have two of them, so you can do one or both, right at the end of the hair. The corner of the eye. So you're right in the corner, stay away from the eyeball, right on the corner. So halfway between the corners of the eye, on the bony ridge underneath the eye. Okay. Underneath your nose. The dimple between your lip and your chin. On this next one, take some explanation. You find your collarbone, come over to the collar, come over till you get to the little knot right close by the sternum, okay? So from that knot, you're gonna come straight down and there's till you get soft tissue, okay? So that's between your collarbone and your first rib. Now you found the soft tissue, go over till you get to the sternum. So you have soft tissue, you go over until you get to something hard. When you find that, then come back to the soft tissue. So that's approximately associated with the point. So you have two of them, so you can do one or both. The next one, put your hand snug underneath your arm, snug, and note where the bottom edge of your hand is. The bottom edge of your hand is the place where you want to tap. So you're going to take your fingers like this and just tap in that area. Okay. Then your fingers across your wrist and tap. Turn your hand over and tap. Go to the space between the bones here and tap there. And your baby finger and your thumb. Yep. Baby finger and your ring finger. Then go back to the side of the hand. Let's go through it again. Top of the head. The end of the hair of the eyebrow. The corner of the eye. Underneath the eye. Underneath the nose. The dimple. Collarbone points. Edge of the hand underneath the arm. Across the wrist. Turn the hand over, backside of the wrist. Space between the bones. Take a breath. And some of you are going to notice what you notice, Peter.
So I'm the host, and I'll admit I'm always a little nervous until we get into the groove, and then I'm okay. So there's a little tightness in the belly, a little tension there because of the nervousness. And so as soon as I get done with the tapping, I could actually breathe, and I just felt like okay.
Okay. So the scientific basis for what you're explaining is the relaxation response. You've tapped into something associated with the relaxation response. What we know scientifically is that the cortisol rate is lowered in the body, and that's a major stress hormone. Okay. And for some people, I've noticed and this relates to my understanding from yoga science. Breath is a key thing, and the our breathing habits, okay, from perspective of self-care, our breathing habits, for the most part, are very, I shouldn't say very, they're less than healthy compared to the way that they should be. Okay.
Absolutely.
And the the thing that this does, it changes people's, it, like you said, there was the thing is that people can have this experience. The cortisol rate can be lower in their body, but there's still no uh, affecting poor breathing, as in chest breathing or paradoxical breathing and things of this nature, which someone who does work with breath needs to address. And the tapping never gets to that. I've only met one person in all the time I've done this who, after a tapping session, their breath went to what I consider the normal moment to moment way of breathing, which is engaging the diaphragm. But that person also had some prior training and they had just frozen up. So that's one thing. So some people experience the pain in their body went away. You know, I've had people with pain and pain for a long time, and really something like this, just a tapping through the points, pain gone, no explanation. Okay. And then the idea of where the little irritant, one of the things, again, harking back to my grounding in meditation, we want to learn how to be an objective observer to our thoughts. Okay. And this objective observation is the same thing that happens in psychotherapy. It's the same thing that happens in meditation, except for the key point here with meditation is you don't need a therapist. You know, I mean, you went to a cave in India, you know, or wherever, and there's Tibetan monks in the, you know, and there's no therapist there. They're doing the work. Okay. So this is one of the things about self-care that's important, because in the original days when meditation was being studied, you know, it was being studied by scientific psychology. And so, you know, well, we're using this to help people to overcome their neuroses. Well, the ancients were using this to help people overcome their neuroses, and they didn't require anybody with a degree in psychiatry or, you know, psychology. So these are self-help tools that we can incorporate. And people ask me, well, how do you hook up the EFT with this? Well, again, if I'm having a problem with something and I can't get space from it to help me to calm down, you know, to take away that tightness in my gut, which would really, if there was diaphragmatic breathing, it would happen, you know. But if I needed, and I guess I should say this, there are some things that I'm saying, you know, diaphragmatic breathing will solve it. No, it won't. There are some things where you need an intervention. You need to see a physical therapist. You need to see somebody with skills. Okay. So we're not negating the benefit of good healthcare practitioners. We're saying you have a lot of capacity, a lot of skill in your own hands that you're not availing yourself of. And that's the thing that we're not told. You know, that's the thing we're not taught. That's the thing nobody informs us of. So this this idea of getting space between the bad thought and the good thought, hey, it doesn't bother me anymore. People say, well, you know, the picture was there, but the picture's gone. How is that possible? I'm kind of going, don't know how it's possible. I just know it works. You know, whether it's there, it's like, whether the picture's gone, you know, or whether it was close and it's way distant, you can't even see it. Whatever works. And so this is an important an important thing with EFT and with all the other modalities that I use, that how they're related.
So it sounds like there's a lot of science behind it, like Western science behind EFT, and it's also utilizing Eastern principles. So it's kind of the awesome marriage or an awesome combination of Western science and Eastern philosophy. Would you agree?
Fascinatingly enough, it's it's Eastern science, if you will. One of the things that they say that there's the objective science and there's subjective science. And the West is master of objective science, and East is a master of subjective science. And one of the things that my teacher and one or two other profound teachers that I've met, one from Africa, a shaman from Africa, they were sent here to inform us, the West, about the necessity of being able to traverse both worlds.
Hmm.
You know, to be able to be on both sides of the screen, to be on Peter's side of the screen and Charles's side of the screen, and recognize that there's a line down the center of those screens and that connects them. And if we utilize the knowledge from both, there we are. Case in point is the fact that quantum physics explains things that are explained in ancient texts like the Yoga Sutras and things of this nature. Quantum physics has an explanation, but these ancient texts already had the answers. and I was amazed that the quantum physicist Bohm, he actually had talks with mystics, you know, and I'm thinking, see, because the folk in the East, they say, why are you quibbling about this war between religion and science? There's no war. just do the practices, increase the subtlety of your awareness, and see what happens. You know, you're quibbling about externals. We don't want to do that. So yeah, there is my teacher was a physician, and so he allowed himself to be examined at the Mendinger Foundation back in the day, and he did all kinds of extraordinary things. One of which was he's asleep, their machines say. He's snoring, their machines say. More importantly, he's in deep dreamless sleep, and nobody knows anything when they're in deep dreamless sleep. Okay, you don't remember anything last night when you were in deep dreamless sleep. Nothing. Okay. The machines are registering that this man's in deep dreamless sleep, and for 25 minutes, they watched. And then when he came back to external awareness, he said, "You said this, and you said this," and they're going, "Wait, you couldn't. There was no. How's that possible?" He says, "Because you just don't know." And so he said, he explained there's things science won't be able to explain because we're trying to use our minds to explain something our minds can't understand.
Hmm.
So it's fascinating. And then that, you know, EFT comes in there and says, you know, hey, we're working on, the ancients had this paradigm, and it said there's the physical body, there's the pranic sheath, or the sheath of chi. People will know chi more than prana, maybe. Okay, and then there is the mind, and the pranic sheath is accessed via the breath. Also, again, you can use the tapping to kind of access that sheath and release blockages in it. But the breath is the link between, because the pranic sheath, the sheath of chi, can be accessed by breathing. So breath is the link between the mind and the body. That's a tremendous equation. And then when you get a way you can access that pranic sheath and clear blocks with things like tapping, it gets to be an extraordinary thing that we can use to help ourselves. And we again, so often we're not told, you know, you can help yourself. I mean, I've helped people myself in hospital, in rehab department hospital, who come with hypertension, and they learn the things that we teach them, simple self-regulatory things. And this doesn't even include tapping, because tapping could definitely have been a part of it, but at that time, tapping had not been developed. Who have come with hypertension, learn the self-regulatory techniques, go away, some weeks later, diagnosed as hypertensive, go away weeks later, doctors say, whatever he taught you, you keep doing, okay? So one of the things we know from being taught in EFT, which again is coming from acupuncture, from Chinese medicine, is that 30 to 70% of all of our pain is emotional.
Mm.
And when I learned that, I went straight to my physician, who's the acupuncturist, who's trained in Chinese medicine, and again, I'd like to, impress that he wasn't trained in Chinese medicine like a physician who goes and takes 8 hours of training because he or she has a physician's license. No, he was trained traditionally. Okay. You go to his office, he has all the herbs, everything on the wall, everything. Okay. He said, oh yes, we know, from acupuncture that 30 to 70% of pain is emotional. And so, case in point, I had frozen shoulder. I'm again a veteran. I injured my shoulder in the service, and I had severe pain. One treatment of acupuncture, proper treatment by a skilled person, pain was gone. Pain was gone. It had been there for years. Gone. Okay. So that's my little connection of that with tapping. So.
Well, that one session, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, this working with things in addition to our allopathic paradigm, which is excellent for emergency medicine.
Mm-hmm.
But the Eastern traditions are more effective with health and longevity. Mm-hmm. And so again, the merger of those two things is what integrated medicine is, and it's kind of the way that we were trained in graduate school, knowing when to, a client who would come to me for EFT. Well, no, you need to go see Peter. There's some physical work that needs to happen here. And then, we can still keep doing this, but you need to see, versus thinking that you can solve everything. Mm. So, there's the good common sense that that good training has for you, not thinking you can do everything, and then and injure people. So
yeah, so we're a community.
Yeah.
So do you talk about this stuff in your books?
Yeah, EFT for meditation is basically the long version of what I just said. But it talks a lot more about meditation. Meditation again is my primary self-care. I think that was going to be a question. My primary self-care modality, and I've been doing it since I was 24. And the things that I've learned about myself, I mean, even the physician, the osteopath who was acupuncturist, I asked him, what do you normally do with people who come to you with the problem that I had? He says, normally surgery. I said, why didn't you say surgery to me? He said, because of the things that you do in your life for self-care. I said, no need. Wow. And so, and that happened when I turned 50. And so I go to see him once every 6 months, and just the last meeting, he said, how's that shoulder? I said, occasionally it's getting old. I said, it says hello, but he went, yes, that's still amazing. Still amazing, just paying attention. And we laughed about this at our first conversation. The Buddha said something in his text. He says, it's very easy to do what's not good for you. It's very easy to eat your bonbons and, have a Coke and watch TV and have your feet propped up. So, but it's very hard to do what's good for you. It takes some effort. And that's always fascinating. I was walking along a path with a physician who was instructing people in her practice in mindfulness-based stress techniques and things. And she said, I stopped prescribing these things. I'm going, well, why would you stop prescribing this? Because people don't want to take responsibility for themselves. And, when it comes to self-care, you have to be responsible. And it is hard. You have to be responsible. I know I really, really, really want those Bismarck donuts, those cake donuts and they're long. I really, really, really want, okay? But I also know that it's feeding the candida that I have. And I have to make sure that I stop having that and find some alternative, a low glycemic index, something so that I can get over this candida or whatever it is, whatever thing it is you're dealing with. And it's never easy. It's not the short path. And oftentimes when we think about self-care, the short path, we think about the way that our paradigm, our allopathic paradigm is constructed. Drugs are not always the best take. And Bruce Lipton wrote this book, the biology of
belief. Yeah.
I'm forgetting the title, but you know the title.
Oh yeah.
And he said, I'm here in Indianapolis, and it is home of Lilly Pharmaceuticals. And one of the products that they have, is an antidepressant. He goes, research has shown that placebo is just as effective as any of the antidepressants that are out there on the market. I'm kind of going, what? He said, you give somebody just a sugar pill and they have confidence that it's going to happen. And it's going to happen. So it says, like, this is a big case for self-care, How are you thinking? How are you breathing? What are you putting in your body? What are you eating? We don't look at those things. And I remember in graduate school in 1983, the physicians telling us, we don't know what partially hydrogenated oils do. And so now we know heart disease, yada, 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 all these things. And so they warned us then, you shouldn't consume those. We don't recommend you consume those. Now, I had the good fortune of being in the milieu of these people who are at the cutting edge of these things. And when I would come back out into the regular world and say, you might want to consider this, people say, you're crazy.
Yeah.
So I've been called crazy a lot in my, and vindication has come by the fact that science began studying and seeing the benefits of meditation and EFT and hypnosis and NLP. People ask me how do they connect, and the simple thing for me is that I actually learned hypnosis in seminary. A man came, a noted hypnotist came, because my seminary work is in spiritual counseling and things of this nature.
Huh.
So I said, okay, well, any tool that can help people to, put some space so they can heal and go on. And I took hypnosis classes then, and I said, okay, well, that works. It's a interesting story. My teacher said, you shouldn't do this hypnosis business. And he gave the explanation of, he says, when I was young, I used to wander through the mountains in the Himalayas, the villages, and he could hypnotize people. Okay. Now, he said, I would hypnotize them and then I would levitate them. And I'm going, okay. Somebody asked me about this story once, and I said, I'm pretty good at the hypnosis thing. The levitating thing, I don't know. Anyway, the story goes that he got the little village person up, and he was levitated, and he didn't know how to get him out of trance, and the villagers were going to lynch him. So he said, you shouldn't practice this stuff. But if you understand the principles, and this is the thing I often say, all the things that interest me about helping us to get space and understand ourselves, self-care, people think are weird. EFT, NLP, hypnosis, meditation, woo, but those are all the things that exist that I know on the planet where you can be in charge of your own life, your own destiny. Again, that's the average person. There are definitely things people come with congenital conditions, things like this. We're not talking about people like that. There's people who talk to me and say, well, you're doing this ableism. You're only saying this is for, you're discriminating against people who have disabilities. No, I'm not. I mean, again, we know that we need to take care of the people who are disadvantaged physically and things like this. I'm talking about that average person who is smoking and drinking and doing all these things, and they have the capacity to change. And even though I say that, there have been studies like the adverse childhood experience studies that show that people who have traumas in their early life have difficulty with things like smoking and alcohol abuse, stuff like this, when they get older. And so that's one of the things that these modalities of, tapping and hypnosis and meditation, for sure, they help you to see what your blocks are. Meditation is actually the premier thing for that. You're sitting there being still, your mind quiets, and your unconscious mind bubbles up, and everything that's in there, good, bad, and ugly, comes up. And you have to deal with it if you want to succeed in meditation. And this is how the scientific psychologists were looking at it originally. But you're doing this, and then the psychotherapists and things would say, okay, then let's do psychotherapy and help you work through those things that come up. Well, the ancients said, no, you do your meditation, you work with your breathing, because your breathing and your mind are associated. Actually, there's a very famous old psychiatrist who confirmed the things that the ancients said. Wilhelm Reich, or Wilhelm. He was a disciple of Sigmund Freud, and he said, no neurotic can take a deep and even breath. I'm going,
wow.
Dude, did you read that text? This 2,000 years, did you read that text? Was his observation.
Huh.
And the fascinating thing is that his observation, because also his observations included understanding human sexuality. They put Wilhelm in prison. They locked him up because he was like, hey, dude, you're talking about deep things. and do we really want people to know that? That's how that wasn't what it was. They thought he was being lewd and obscene, but I'm going, we need to understand ourselves on all levels to be healthy. There's no self-care if you don't know what's happening. So we need to understand these things. So the mind and the breath can tell you a lot about a person's emotional state. And that's kind of obvious, So you just saw how an emotional state of tenseness was resolved just like that, with just the tapping and lowering the cortisol rate. Okay. And we know across all these modalities, you know, uh, blood pressure, heart rate, breathing rate, muscle tension, they all decrease with the relaxation response.
Hmm.
So your indication of it was that tension in the gut was gone. But if we had had physiological measures, we'd have seen all of those parameters change. And the thing is that we have the capacity to do that at will. We don't need a Xanax. We don't need, we don't need things that are going to have a negative side effect. The truth of it is that you just relieved that tension in your gut. Only side effect was you went, okay. You keep doing that with Xanax, and you're going to have some other strange side effects.
Hmm.
Okay, so again, that's not to say that there are people who need the intervention of people with skills and they need drugs, and we're not that there's no denigration of that. It's understanding where your capacity ends and assistance begins, but oftentimes we stop way less way before we need to, as far as being responsible for ourselves.
Sage advice. Yep. So is there a way to contact you after the session ends if we have questions, or do you have a website that we could go to?
Let me mention this before we do that. This tapping thing. Okay, I said my premier way is meditation, but I've used tapping in conjunction with that. And here is the thing that is significant about that. You have a lifetime of hurts that you know about, things that come up for you, and they are still in your energy body. They're still little stars of hurt and things like this in your energy body, and they're disturbing you. Okay. From a self-care position for a person who is giving aid, like again, a psychotherapist needs to go to psychotherapies so they can work through their stuff. Okay. And so again, if you don't spend money and go to PhD courses in psychology and stuff like this, how can you accomplish the same thing? Meditation, for sure, is my thing, but this tapping, there's something called the personal peace procedure related to EFT that is very beneficial for people who are doing healing work. And it is all the little hurts that, the dog trip's still a minor thing, but things that you can get what's called SUD level. So subjective units of distress, something where, okay, I'm so angry about that at a level of 8 out of 10. Well, you tap on whatever that is. Okay, and that's addressed in our book EFT for Meditation, how to do that specifically, because we didn't use any to get the effect that you got. There was no talking. We just did the points. But there is a way of setting things up and addressing things that can help us to get down into our specific difficulties, and that's what the personal peace procedure is to clear out those things that are, the term neurosis is not used anymore, okay? But those things that are glitches in our less than conscious mind, we can clear them out, and they're not bothering us. They're not informing how we interact with other people anymore because we've cleared them. And so from the perspective of self-care for a healer, that's very important. And also it can be something that can help them if there's a difficult client they just had, I mean, you're a PT, you got some difficult clients. Mr. You need to really rotate that like this. And, and they're going like, I don't care what you say. And you got, okay, let me tap on that to clear out my resistance or my tension about this situation. So that's an important thing. If nothing else, in this whole thing, as far as self-care, tapping your inner resources to help yourself, then this is a key player for everybody who's doing any kind of work like this. And again, you don't need anybody else. You just need a notebook. This happened, and I was angry at a level of 7, and I still feel it. Tap it, clear it out. This. I have a notebook that's like like this. Little notebook that's pages full of stuff that I've cleared out. So if somebody wanted to contact me, you can contact me at Charles at yourblock.com. And there's further contact information there. And that's my website. And then our company is Tools for Joyful Living. And that's that.
Excellent. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and a lot of good tips and important information about self-care for healers. Much appreciated. Thank you for being a part of this Masterclass series. And I'd also like to thank our viewers for being present and being part of this series as well. And until next time, be well. Good to see you, Charles. Thank you.